Yeah. Good morning, everyone. So as this is the first session on Mulesoft Certified Developer, so we'll give a couple of minutes for other participants to join. So hello, everyone. It's already 2 minutes past 8. So we'll start the session. So again, happy morning to everyone. Thanks for joining this session on Mulesoft Certified Developer. So let me quickly introduce myself. So my name is Kumar, and I'm a MuleSoft architect, having 10 years of experience in integration space. And I have a relevant experience in MuleSoft of 7+ years. Currently, I'm working with one of the top US firms to help them get the solution architect needs. So let's hop on to today's agenda, which is the MuleSoft Certified Developer. So this course is designed to even for the freshers or the working professionals to get the certification and to know about the tool, how the MuleSoft actually works. So let's start with example today. So I must you all people must be aware of this MakeMyTrip site. So we'll take this example to understand more in depth as how an API works, how MuleSoft is working. So we'll go to this and we'll understand more. Okay. So what I typically do is we'll just type makemytrip.com, and as soon as I type makemytrip.com, I get an interface, a web page basically. So if you have to book a flight from and to like you'll just give the address. So suppose I'm trying to book a flight from Mumbai and I have to go to Bangalore, and I'll specify the address date on which I'm going. So it's 11th. So typically what is my input here in this one? It's from, to, and departure date. So giving 3 inputs and I'll get all the flight details in just within a seconds. So as soon as I click a search button, within 2 to 3 seconds, maximum of 2 seconds, I get all the flight detail displayed from different airlines, as you can see, from all the airlines which are operating in India right now. So have you ever wondered that how this is happening, how they are showing the results of each and every flight so quickly? So some people will think that it's MakeMyTrip, which is storing the flight data and displaying it, something like that. But that is not what happening in real time. So what we are doing in real time is we are calling this airlines and getting the real time data at that time only. So this is all real-time data. So it provides the start, departure time, the duration, the flight, the arrival, even the ticket prices. So all this is happening in real time. And we can also book tickets from right here. And in that case also, we'll be doing an API call to the airline. So to understand more in depth, like how this process is happening within 2-3 seconds, you are able to see the results of all the airlines. I'll give you a small diagram example and try to explain. So this is just a representation of the flights which we are having. Okay, so I'll make 4 flights and we will name them accordingly. So let's call this as Vistara, this as Indigo, then we have Air India, and one more like SpiceJet. So typically you can just see there are 4 flights and each flight is storing their data of tickets, the prices, how many flights they have, everything is stored and owned by that flight. So what is happening here, a third person comes out and it is MakeMyTrip, which stands just in between here. We'll name then again this one. MMT. So this is our diagram, which will get to explain in a simple way that what at real time, how we are getting the data from the flights. So you have heard about the term called API. So what API actually does? So whenever, if you have seen the example, we are putting the details of like from where we are going to where are like from where we are starting and where we are going. So this is the input given by the user at Mumbai and Bangalore and 11 date. So we have to provide an input. So from MMT, we will provide an input to Vistara, to Indigo, to Air India, and to SpiceJet. We'll provide this input to them at the same time. It's not like we are sending for Vistara, then Indigo, not like that. Simultaneously, at the same time, every flight will be getting a details from Mumbai, like we want to travel from Mumbai to Bangalore at the same time. So all these flights will getting these details. What in return will this flight will do is they will send a response. So the response will be of different kind. Every flight will have a different way of storing data. This can store in a different format, application slash JSON type. Indigo can store in XML formats. So these are all formats which we are talking about. Every flight has a different format to store data. Air India can store in a database, but MMT has to display in a single format. Like, is it displaying in a single format, which is readable to us and can easily be like we can differentiate what is the price and everything. So whatever we are getting, it's in a single format. But the airline will not do so. They will provide the data format in their format. So Vistara is giving back us the detail of their flights which they have. MMT will give back the details. Air India will give back the details, and as well SpiceJet will give back the details. So when we receive all the details from all the flights, we have transformations made inside, and we will just transform the data in a single format which we required in our website. So mostly it's application JSON in a website which is required. So that is showed. So I hope this example is clear, like in a basic way how MMT is working or for any kind of site is working. So even Facebook, Instagram, all the web applications is just dealing with APIs. You are doing a real-time call and we're getting the response back. Okay, so we'll explore more on this MakeMyTrip site, because I think this really gives you a very good picture of how Mulesoft is working and how API is working. So you must be familiar with this web address. Everyone will know what this web address is. But if we go to details like what exactly this web address is carrying, because we are inputting the data here, but our call to the different airlines is going through this web address. Whatever the details are in this web address will be sent to the different flights. So it starts with make HTTPS. So this is a transfer protocol and it's secure protocol. So that is why we are using S in this one. And typically this is the web address, the site name, you can say makemytrip.com. So this is quite familiar with this. But after this, if you see, there are different kind of parameters which are sent. So just to make life easy, I'll remove all these things first. Let me open it on a different page. Yeah. So now we have opened in this page and we can see the only MakeMyTrip is there, makemytrip.com. As you hover on these things, flights, hotels, homestays, there are different resources which we have in this one. Okay, so once we go to hotels, you'll notice one interesting thing, that after makemytrip.com, it is appended by an hotels resource. So this means that it has to go to makemytrip.com and it has to go to hotels folder. I'll typically call as a folder kind of structure, which is like more understandable. So it has a MakeMyTrip. Inside that, it has a folder called hotels. When you go to flights, it has a flights resource here. Okay, so this is how it is changing for different resource. Now we haven't entered like details where we want to go. This was from previous window. So we'll enter again and see what is the changes happening in this web address. So we'll do a New Delhi to again to Goa, and the date will be 11th, and we'll do a search. So as soon as we do a search, see the web address changes and we get the response. So we'll try to know more about what is happening behind the picture. So till flight, it was clear that yeah, we were in flight resource, so flight was there. After that, you can see search. There's a keyword called search, and then you have an itinerary, which is Delhi, DEL and GOI. So this is just code words for Delhi and Goa, and you can see the date. So typically what it's doing is it's called query parameters. Like we are sending this query parameters to different websites. So itinerary is Delhi, Goa, and trip type. So all these things which are after and, it's called a query parameter. So the first one starts after here, the itinerary. This is the first query parameter and it is Delhi to Goa, and we are sending the date also in single format. Then again, we have the trip type query parameter, which is saying it's O. I think it stands for one-way trip, and the pax type is A1. So these things are not encoded by us. This is by default. So if you see, it's the international is false, means it's domestic. The cabin class is economy, and code is in India, and the language is English. So this was pre-chosen because of our web windows or the Chrome settings or our local window settings. So this is the data which we are sending. So I hope you get a better picture on how the website sites and everything is working. Now we'll go to back to our slides and we'll see what is an API. So right now I showed you that real-time example and what is an API. So for the definitions, it's just an acronym for application programming interface, which is software that allows two applications to talk to each other. So this is right, which is a software that allows two applications to talk to each other. So in our case, the two applications were MakeMyTrip and the other flights like Vistara and all. So they were talking, like MakeMyTrip was sending a request and it was getting back a details of the flights. So everything in today's world is API. So each time you use an app like Facebook, instant message, or check weather on your phone, you are using an API. You are doing a call and getting back the response. So this is what API is all about. So we'll go to a web service now. So what is a web service typically? So a web service is a method of communication between two electronic devices over a network, similar to an API. So a web service is running on your computer, listens for requests from other computers. So in Vistara, if you go Vistara flight, so there will be an web server which will be listening for our request. Like we are sending a request to them from MakeMyTrip. So Vistara will be listening to a web server request. So when a request from another computer is received over a network, the web service returns the requested resources. So, and this is one important term to note, that every web service is an API, but not every API is a web service. We'll come to this point later in the line when we get more used to the common word of web services and the REST services and the SOAP services. So typically there are two kinds of web services, the SOAP services and REST services. So these are just the types of web services which we are using till now. The SOAP is a quite old time, like it was developed by Microsoft long back, and it has some shortcomings and limitations. So that's why we had designed the REST services, which is the representation state transfer. So in the coming course, we'll focus on more on REST services than on SOAP services. And you will be gradually learning, not from the definitions, you'll be gradually learning at how the REST services are working. So this is typically what REST services is. It's a provide a flexible, lightweight to integrate applications and have emerged as the most common method. Like after SOAP, this is the most common method, which has emerged. So web services in REST it's a stateless, means the server does not remember any client state from previous request. So what does this mean? Stateless means whenever we are sending a request to the different flights, it will not remember a request. In the first time I sent Mumbai to Delhi. In the second time, it will not remember that we are saying Mumbai to Delhi. So that is what stateless means. But in some cases, we require that it should store that data. So in that case, we can use this cache mechanism, and we can cache the records there. So we generally use the HTTP protocol, and we make the request based on HTTPS and HTTP protocol. Now coming to these components, these 5 components are called methods. We have a more hands-on demo where we will interact with all these methods in this today's session. Okay. So it's very simple methods. So we'll start with get method. So as the name says, get. What it does is it's get the details. So this will be used to get the details of the employee using the RESTful web services. So in our case, we were using we were sending our data and we are getting the request of the flights. Similarly, post services, like when you are posting some data, some video, some photos, in that case, you will be using a post service. So it creates a new resource. The put resource, there's two confusing terms, put and patch. So put is used to create a new resource. Suppose there is a flight existing of Air India, and we want to add one more flight. So in that case, we will use the put resource. But if you want to change the existing flight timings, in that case, we will use the patch method type. And similarly, we have delete, which will delete whatever is there in the system. Okay. So let's move on hands-on. Okay, so we'll start with this first hands-on. So typically what we are going to do in this hands-on is Mulesoft has designed few REST APIs for us. And so in this screenshot, you can see there are REST APIs, and it's all designed by Mulesoft, and it is stored in an exchange place where we can use and just interact with the web services and the REST APIs. So we will go to this website and do the hands-on on the. So anyone can go to this site at anypoint.mulesoft.com exchange and this Mule training site, and they can leverage the APIs and talk to them, get the requests, send requests, and play around. So this will help you understand more about web services and REST APIs and everything. So we'll open this REST API, which is called American Flights API, as this suits our MakeMyTrip example, and it will help you understand more about how the things are working. So whenever you open this, this is not important for us right now. We will just focus on few things. Like as you saw in the MakeMyTrip example that we had a flight resources, right? So we also have again a flight resource. So this is called a resource. And under this, we have two methods. One is get and one is post. So as I said, get means get all flight details. Post means to add a flight. And again, we have ID resource. So ID resource is generally, suppose we have 10 flights starting from serial number 1 to 10, and we want to see only a flight number 5. So in that case, we will be sending a URI parameter of flight number 5, and we will get and delete and put. We can do this modifications. So I hope you are following, everyone. So now we'll just go and talk to these APIs. So the next question comes like how we will talk to this API, which is a tool we can use to talk to these APIs, because we don't have a web server downloaded like this where we can send the request. So to make things easier, we have 2-3 services which is catering this issue. The one is the Postman and the advanced REST client. So I have advanced REST client with me. So typically what it is do is helps in testing of APIs. This is the primary feature of advanced REST clients or Postman. So some people use Postman and advanced REST clients. So these are both of the same things. It will perform the same kind of things of testing APIs. Okay. So I'll go to a new request and I have this this web address to test the API which we saw. So again, we'll come back to what exactly these things means. So we have HTTPS, and this is the website name, suppose anypoint.mulesoft.com. Then they have Exchange and then portals running. So I think I have copied the wrong one. I think this is the correct one, right? So I'll paste this one here. So as soon as it paste, it's HTTP. This is the name. Suppose this is the MakeMyTrip.com. So this is the name of the site which we are referring to right now, which is training for American. And then again, as we saw there, we have flights. So we have flights resources here. So what we will do is we will just make a call. So as soon as you make a call, let me open this is a new window. It will be more clear. So as soon you make a call, you receive a response. So this is the thing which we are sending as a request, and we are getting a response for this. So let's see what we are getting back in response. So we are getting ID as 1. The code is this, the price, what is the price going on, what is the departure date, what is the origin, what is the destination, what is the plane type, and everything. So we are getting so many flights, ID2, ID3, and it's all different flights, right? So this is what is happening in MakeMyTrip site also. They are sending this request and they are getting back this response, and they are showing it on a web page. So suppose I want to just find a flight, but I don't want all these details. I just want a flight with whose ID is 2. So what will I do is just I'll slash and I'll give 2. As soon as I give 2, it should just send me only this flight number with ID 2. So this is the power of API. You can modify the request and you can get back the response whatever you want according to you. So you're not bombarded with a number of data. So this is the URI parameter. Now there's something called, let's go back to that example. So it has all these details. The flight is going to different destination. In here case, it's going to LAX and the destination is CLE. But as we saw in that example, I want flight only going to a particular destination. I don't want all the flight details. So I was showing you an example called the query parameters, right? This is the search query parameters. So I've given here that my itinerary should is Delhi to Goa. So the similar thing I'll try to perform here also. I will just want details of only one flight. So I'll copy this address and it's simple, the same address. So what I have added is previously till flights we had. So we were getting everything. But now we as we want only destination as CLE or anything, I have just given a query parameter called destination. And I'll change that to CLE. And let's see if we get only flights whose destination is CLE or not. Let's see that. So we got back the response. And as you can see, all the destinations which you are getting here is called CLE, CLE, CLE. So having so many data and just providing one query parameter, we are getting what we require. So this is how the API is working for Mule API. Okay, so we'll go back and we'll see. So we have make calls to an API. We used advanced test client to make calls to an unsecured API. We have used the get method as of now. We are yet to use the delete method, post method, and put calls. Okay, so we will be doing this right now. So I'm just checking what we have already done. So we have done a make calls to an API. And we have used the query parameters CLE to get a single flight. We have used an URI parameter to get a flight with the ID number. So these all things are done. Next is we will use URI and method delete. So typically, suppose a API is defined for a few things. It can't be defined for all the methods. So our API here, the flights API, which is defined. So as I was showing you with ID3, okay. So only the flight with ID3 will come. And you can see the method is get. It has all these kinds of method, post, put, delete, patch, everything. Okay. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to add a delete method. So this is the method. This will describe what action needs to be taken. So it's saying delete the flight 3 from this data. So what do you think it will happen? Will it delete or not? How we will get to know? We can't just blind test and check the result. So that is why we have a thing called API specification, which I was showing you back in this window. So this is an API specification, which will tell what the operation can do and on which resource it can perform that operation. So if you see in flights one, we don't have a delete option. So this is typically to like not let us allow to delete all the flights, because if you do a get, all the flights were coming, but where you're doing a slash and a URI parameter, then only the flight 3 or flight 4 was coming. So we can delete, like the delete option is here in the flight number 3. So we can use that delete functionality. So I'll go to flight number 3 and send the request. And remember, we are deleting the flight. We are not fetching the flight. So it should typically delete this flight from the database. So yeah, so this is the response. So whenever you get a 200 response, it means it's all okay. And the message which we are getting, it's flight deleted, but not really. So not really means like we are not actually deleting it, because we have to maintain the integrity of the database system. And we don't do, like we don't delete a flight anywhere, but there will be time where you need to delete something on the some websites. So in that case, we will use that. It was just for a demo purpose. Okay. So we completed this get flight by ID. We completed the delete flight by ID. We fetched all the flights. Now what we will do is we will post. Post means we are posting a new data in that database system or wherever the flight is storing. So it is typically adding a flight. So now you'll ask that how we can do that, how we can perform that operation. So nothing, we just have to change the method from get delete to post, and then we have to provide that what actually we are posting to, right? We have to let them know that what flight and what is the details of the flight we are posting to. So I have already the details here. So this is the details which I'll be posting. So under this body section, I'll go and I'll paste my details. So this is the details I'll be posting. So this is a new flight with code this, price is this, and destination is SFO. So let's go back to the, so yeah, this example which you're seeing, American flight API with post method, but without a header and body. So first we will see what will happen if you don't provide this body. Does this work or not? Let's see that. Okay. So we'll remove this and we will post to this flights. So as soon as we do a post here, we get an 415 unsupported media type. So it's saying the media type is not supported. And what does it mean? It means that we are not sending any data to them. So on what thing they will update it. So for that, we have to provide the data. So post always requires a body. Without a body, you will not be able to post anything. So let's try with the post and we have given the flight details, which we are doing. Let's see if it works or not. See, again, we are getting the same messages, an unsupported media type. So why it is failing again? It is failing because we haven't given them the content type which we are posting. How they will come to know which content type we are pasting? We are just copy pasting a few details, but we are not explicitly telling them that in which format we are pasting. So for that, we have this called header section. I'll open this in a new. Okay. So coming to the header section, we will just add one header, which is content type. So this is the content type which we want to send. So our content type is JSON. So this format where we are sending data in a key and value pair, it's called JSON formatting. So this is a like widely used format and media type, which is used in industries right now. So this is the key code and this is the value. So key value pair. So I'll just copy this. And here we have to just give application JSON. And this is done. And see, now you're not able to see the body part. Why? Because it's get method. We have to go back to post method, then only we'll be able to see the body part. So we'll copy here. And now we'll send the request. See, now we are getting 201 created. So whenever we post, the response will be 201. And we get a message flight added, but not really. So again, this is just for the maintaining the data integrity. In the real case examples, you will be able to add a flight. So this covers how we can like interact with API and how we can do a get resource, post resource, and a delete resource. Okay. So we have completed this with header, with body. This is done. Now, typically, like till now, what we have seen is we have seen the example of MakeMyTrip, So this was built by some other website, some other developer. We have seen this American Flights API. So this was also built by Mulesoft. But as a developer, we have to make our own API. We'll get a requirements and then we will have to make our own API. So we'll see that part. How can we make an API and how easy it is and how much time it takes. So to do that, we have an IDE, which is called AnyPoint Studio. I have already opened this IDE. Let me close all these projects. So I have closed all these projects. Okay, let me clear this. Yeah. So typically you will be, as a MuleSoft developer, you will be spending most of your time in this AnyPoint Studio. It is a place where we design and develop all the APIs which we want to do for a project. So we will develop a simple API today, and I don't think it will take much time, maximum 10 to 15 minutes, and we'll be done with it. So that is how easy it is. In 10 to 15 minutes, you'll be able to develop an API and get interact with the API and test the API. And coming to AnyPoint Studio, the installation process and installation of ARC, everything I'll be discussing in the later coming sessions when I'll be asking you to install it in your system, and we can do a hands-on. So that I will be discussing in a different session. And all these details of what it is, what is a package explorer, what is an API console, MUnit, don't worry about it. Everything will be covered in detail. So now we'll just go and create a new project. So it's as simple as that. Go do a new and do a Mule project. We have to give a new name to the project, and let's say it's Hello World. So I've given S because the project name should be unique, and I've already created a Hello World project. So it is Hello World, and the runtime is Mule 4.4. Again, we'll come back to runtime. What is a runtime and what is a 4.4 version of it? We'll discuss everything in detail. Let's not complicate things right now. So we'll discuss this later. So as soon as within seconds, like within 3 to 4 seconds, you can see your project structure is here. Hello world. And all these things are automatically created for you. So this is how fast and easy Mule becomes. So as we are doing an HTTP request, and so what we'll do is we'll just go to this Mule palette. It is a palette where you can get everything what you want, and if something is not present, you can add module, you can search in Exchange, and it becomes that easier. So what we will do is we will try to listen to a web service. Okay, we'll try to listen to a request, and we will send our response, just like a airline company. We will listen to some user's request and we'll send our response. So for that, we have to use the HTTP listener. As we were using HTTP methods, so we will use an HTTP listener. So you just have to click here and just drag and drop. So this is how easy it is. You get a listener, and now what we have to do is we have to configure. So don't worry about it. The configuration is also a very easy part. So we have this connector configuration. We'll just add symbol and we'll get the details. The protocol, it's an HTTP protocol. The host is all interfaces, means anyone can call this API from anywhere. That is why it's 0.0.0.0. That is the IP. And the port which it listening is 8081. So typically your HTTP will listen on 8081 port. We have a test connection. I don't think we'll need to do the test connection because it will work. But if you want to do, you can just do a test connection. Okay. It is already in use. Okay, let me check this. Okay, so now what we will do is we will give a path. What is the path? So as we have seen in our examples that after MakeMyTrip.com, this is a resource flight path, and this is like this / and flight. So we have to provide a flat path, like where it has listening to. So we'll just go and give any name. So I've given hello as a name. Okay. So now our listener configuration is completed. Now what we want to do is whenever an API is calling, we will just greet them back with hello. Okay. So for that, we will use a component called set payload. We'll again just drag and drop here. So it's got, yeah, let me drag and drop here inside this. So this is one flow. We'll talk about flow, error handling, secondary flow, primary flow, all these things in details. Okay. So what in set payload we can do is we can set whatever like a payload we want. So in this case, we just want to do a hello, simple hello. Okay. So our application is completed. Like within, I think 2 to 3 minutes, we have completed the application. So what we actually did is, I'll show you in a better way. So what we do is we developed an application. Yeah. So this is our arc from where we will be sending the request. Okay. And this is our API, which we developed right now. So what we will do is we will send a request to this. So as soon as we send a request, it will send back us the response. So I'll write it down. So this is our arc, the advanced REST client. This is the advanced REST client. So we will be sending the request from here. And this is our Mule app, which we just built. And what will be the request will be, it will just be calling the system. We will not be posting or deleting anything. We'll just call the system. And what will our response will be? We will be greeted with a hello response. So I hope this diagram is clear what we are trying to do in this case. So let's go back to our application and we have completed the design of it and let's deploy it. So when you do a right click, you get two options, run project or debug project. So debug project comes in handy like when we are doing a big project and you want to see at each step what is happening. So at that time we use debug. In the later coming sessions when we are building a more complex APIs, we will be using this debug feature for sure. Right now we'll just run this project. So it will ask for save. Yeah. So it started running. So if you see the console, this is the console. So it displays what is happening to your system. It is building a project for us. Everything is taken care at the back end. Okay. So once it gets built and deployed, we'll get a message from it that it is deployed. So see, we got a message. The application name is hello world. The domain is default and the status is deployed. If there was an error in your application, it would have failed. So our application is deployed and it's running. Let's check this, test this out. So we'll go to our arc, and as we have used the get method here, and we are using the HTTP, not HTTPS, then it's a local host because it's deployed in my machine and not on any website. So that is why we are using a local host. And this is the port number 8081. And this is the path hello. So if you remember, we have defined a path called hello here. So that's why I am passing this hello. So I'll just send a request and we get a response. So this is the status code and I got a response is hello. Let's try and check if we change the response, will it provide the same? So let's type hello mule. Okay. And we'll deploy it again. We'll stop the application and run it again. So let's see if it is responding within seconds, the changed application response or not. So yeah, the application is deployed. We'll send the request again. So previously we were getting hello, right? Now we will be sending, we got hello Muley. So within seconds, we have developed an API which is listening to us and sending us a response. So this is how easy it is, and MuleSoft is booming and it's in demand right now because of these features, designing and implementing your requirements within few minutes. So now we will use more of methods like as we saw, we use the query parameters, the URI parameters. So we will check all these details also, but we'll do that in the coming videos. Okay, so let's go to the other slides. So this again, we can use the URI parameters and everything. So let's come to this point-to-point approach. So we did enough of hands-on, and we have seen what are the advantages of MuleSoft and how quick and fast it is doing things. But previous to MuleSoft approach, we were using a point-to-point approach. This is a common project-based approach. So whenever a team gets a project to build an web API, so it will have details stored in a different system. So in our case, our ordered data, what shopping we are doing, it is stored in a e-commerce system. So this is our e-commerce system. The inventory data is stored in SAP. The customer data is stored in SAP and Salesforce. So all this system is storing the data, and we have to develop a web API. So what we used to do is we used to just connect these resources. So we'll connect an SAP to Salesforce and to order status and order history, and we will reflect that on web API. So this approach was good, like it was quick, and we can see we will know the requirements and we can complete it within few days. Okay, but what was the drawback of this resource? What was the drawback of this approach actually, and why we needed MuleSoft? So suppose in today's changing world, we have both mobile API, mobile app, and the web app. So this system was built for a web app. And now if I want to see the same content of the web API, the flipkart.com, suppose in our case, will not be able to see in a mobile because it's a different API and it was not built for a mobile phone previously. So in that case, what will happen? Again, we have to do the same process. Again, we have to connect to this SAP system, Salesforce system, and again, we have to build the same process. So it is more of time taking process. We are building the same thing again for a different application. So this is the drawback of this. The on time we'll get, yeah, but limited opportunity to use. We will not be able to reuse this because it is dedicatedly developed for this web API. Okay. Okay, next. So this is the approach which we followed. And after 6 months, if you see the web API is completed, and after 6 months, the business comes and asks that we have to develop a mobile API. So what we are doing, we are again doing all these things which we had already done. So it is total waste of time and effort that you have to build again the same thing which is already there. So that is how MuleSoft comes into picture, and it says we should reuse these resources. So yeah, it makes sense, right? We have this order status, order history, everything there. Why can't we reuse, and why can't we connect our mobile API to this? So that is why new approach came into picture, which is a API-led approach. So this is the API-led approach or API-led connectivity, where we define our resources in three ways. One is the system API, the other is the process API, and the experience API. So as the name suggests, experience API is what we as a user experience. So this is a web app and this is a mobile app. So instead of connecting this to only one system, we will just develop a system API. And we can leverage for any kind of API. Suppose today is mobile, tomorrow we will have some other interfaces where we need. So we can directly connect. We will not have to develop again this whole thing, right? So this is how API-led connectivity is helping us. And one more important thing what Mulesoft suggests is to segregate your system APIs, process APIs, and experience APIs. So this will help you in the long run. So whatever system data we have, like we have SAP, so it's a system, it is storing the data. So we make it as a system API. We don't expose this API directly to customers, right? We will have one more layer of process layer and an experience layer over the system layer. So anything which is containing data, any legacy system or the cloud system or SAP, we will store that in system APIs. So without exposing them to the real world. And then over the top, we will build in process API. So what process API is? So processes API is typically like we have one system API, SAP customers, and one is Salesforce customers, right? So to get both, like if you want some details from SAP customers and some details from Salesforce, we will develop an API which is called process APIs, customers API. And in this API, we will have details of the customers. So in future, if you want to talk to a system, we don't have to go back again to the SAP customers. We can directly talk from the customers API. So in the picture, it is clearly seen that the web application and the mobile application is directly contacting the customer APIs and not contacting the system APIs. Okay. So like you have seen this all the APIs. So it can be a problem that we have so many APIs and who is going to took care of all this APIs, because as the organization grows, it will have many APIs. And suppose you have worked on this system API and you leave this project and a new person comes into your place, then he will not know about this, right? Because you have developed, you know everything. So he will not be knowing about this APIs, which is already there, and he will uh, take his effort and create this again. To help overcome that feature, we have a team called C4E. So every organization will have a team C4E, which is called Center for Enablement. So what does this team do? So this team aims to help the organization to take advantage of reuse and API development. So there's a team which will sit and it will monitor all the APIs which are already there, which are already built. And it will help the developers that, yeah, this API is there, you can take leverage of this APIs. So that is what it is saying. It's shorter development cycle, because if we have a reuse API, it will be a shorter time. Reduce project cost and risk, fewer defects because it's already tested and we don't have to test it again. So yeah, higher quality, enhanced governance, and all this advantages we have in this. So so for today, I think we are all covered. One more section is left, which is quiz. So this quiz is taken from Mulesoft certification site. So typically, if you clear this quiz every day, you will be sorted for the certification. Okay, so let's go. We have, I think, 4 questions, and we'll just see. So the first question, what HTTP method in RESTful web services is typically used to completely replace an existing resource? So we'll see the options. So we'll start with get. So what get does? Get fetches the response. It does not replace the existing resource, right? So get is not the answer. We'll see patch. So patch, as I said, if there is something already present, then we can patch word, right? If something already present, then we can patch it. So again, it's asking completely replace. Now, this is an important keyword, that it should be completely replacing it. So the answer will be put. Why? Because if the flight number 1 is present in a database system and we want to add a flight number 2, so in that case, we will be adding a put resource of flight number 2. So the correct answer will be put. Coming to question number 2. What statement is parts of MuleSoft description of an application network? So we'll read the options. So to create reusable APIs and asset designed to be consumed by other business. So this looks quite okay, that we are creating reusable APIs, as C4E was there to make sure that we are using it. and other business units. So this looks very okay to me, and I think this is the answer. But we will look the other options also. So the second B states creates and manage high availability and fault tolerant. So this is not what the Mulesoft deprecation of application network is. Leverages central IT to developer deliver complete point-to-point solutions with master data management. So no, point-to-point was previous approach. Mulesoft has changed this approach. So this is also not the answer. The fourth one is creates and manages its collection of JMS messaging service and infrastructure. So this is also not what it is doing. So the correct answer is create usable APIs and assets designed to be consumed by other business units. So this is the correct answer. Question number 3. According to Mulesoft, what is the center of enablement's role in the new IT operating model? So it is asking what is C4E doing in the new IT operating model. So as we've seen in our previous slides, what C4E is actually doing, it is taking advantage and use of API development. It is following the best standards. It reduces projects and everything. So we'll go back to our quiz and see what it is actually doing. So it produces and manages APIs policies for line of business developments. No, this is not correct. It does not produce or manages policies. It's not managing policies. Okay. Option B, implement line of business projects to enforce common security requirements. No, this it is doing, but not completely. It is asking what is the center of enablement's role. So this is partially correct, but not completely correct. Okay. So the third is centrally manages partners and consultants. So this is not correct. Option D, creates and manages discoverable assets to be consumed by line of business developers. So this is correct. It creates and manages discoverable assets. Asset means the APIs to be consumed by line business developer. So the answer D is correct to this question. So this is the last question of our session for today. So what Mulesoft API-led connectivity layer? If you remember, there were 3 connectivity layers: the system layer, the process layer, and the experience layer. These were the 3 layers which we studied about. So the question is, what Mulesoft API-led connectivity layer is intended to expose part of backend database without business logic? So it is asking expose part of backend database. So if you remember, what is our backend database? It can be SAP, Salesforce, database system, anything. So which layer it is using? Is it the system layer, the process layer, or experience layer? So to get the answer of this question, we'll go back to that slide which we saw. So we saw here the system layer, process, and experience. So this is the answer of this question. It is system layer because it is exposing the data without giving the backend logic, because we are able to fetch data from these systems, right? So that is why the answer to this question will be system layer. So these are all the answer keys. So this completes our day 1 session on Mulesoft, and we completed all the hands-on. We went back onto the MakeMyTrip application, and we saw how the resource is working, how query parameter is working. We interacted with multiple APIs. We created one application. So this is what we covered in day 1. In day 2, we'll increase our expertise in more of depth of knowledge, like we'll interact with APIs, we'll create more applications and things. So you will get all these slides, and you'll get the recording of this session also available. So we have last 5 minutes, so I'll give it to you. If you have any question, you can ask, feel free to ask.
Kumar, this is Ram.
Hey, Ram. Yeah.
I learned about Oracle Integration Cloud.
Yeah.
I was wondering, what is the significant difference between the MuleSoft and the OIC platform? Is it going to be same like integrating multiple applications, or in what way it differs?
Okay. So yeah, it is quite the same. Like MuleSoft also integrates all the application, but it is following a different approach totally. So we can see that in the coming features, like how it is different from OIC and how it's different from TIPCO. So many organizations are doing. Google is also doing an APG where it is trying to integrate all the solutions and all the different applications. So MuleSoft is like right now very hot and a good place to get the integrations done, as it is backed by Salesforce, and Salesforce is present everywhere. So that is what MuleSoft is doing in a better way.
Um, does it have its own database? Like we have Oracle in OIC side, right? So
No, no, no. So MuleSoft is only to connect to systems. It does not have its own database as of now.
okay, so when you say development can be done through MuleSoft, what kind of development if it is not able to connect to any database?
So I didn't say that it will not be able to connect to a database. It does not have its own database. So we can connect to any database, be it Oracle, MySQL, NoSQL. We can connect to any system. We can connect to databases. We can connect to Salesforce. We can even connect to AWS S3 bucket. So all these things are possible. If you go to Exchange, MuleSoft Exchange, there will be n number of connectors already present.
Okay.
So, and it is growing day by day. MuleSoft is providing us different connectors. So right now, like Amazon S3 is the biggest place to store things for websites and all the things. So it has already Amazon S3 connector and everything.
And is it possible for me to connect my on-prem database? Suppose I'm having a different application running on Oracle database, for
Mhm.
example. Is it possible for me to connect to the database and get the data or do whatever?
Yes, yes, definitely it is possible. So MuleSoft has already made the popular connectors, which we will be using on day to day. But there will be situations where you will be needing to connect for a custom connector. So if you are trying to get data from your on-prem, you can define your own custom connector, and it can be HTTP based or SOAP based, and you can fetch the data from that.
Okay. So, and is it possible to develop some kind of web form? Like, I'm still comparing with OIC. The reason being is I know what is the capability of OIC,
Right,
right? I
right.
mean, Integration Cloud, where we have a system called VBCS, where we can develop web forms, which can get the data from the database, store it back to the database. All those things can be done.
Mhm.
And we also have process control, which helps us to set up an approval mechanism, right?
Okay.
So is it possible to do such a kind of thing in MuleSoft?
Exactly what are you looking for? Like, you want to develop a web console, or like, I didn't
Yeah.
get a question
See,
exactly.
for example,
Mhm.
I'm just trying to build an employee form,
Okay.
employee details to be entered on the web form, right? Where I will have employee number, date of birth, all those blah 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 stuff, right? And eventually I will have a save button, and when I save it, it
Mhm.
will get saved in the database. It's typical any web application, right?
Yes,
It's
yes,
not
that
in
is
terms of search.
correct. That is quite possible. Yeah, it is a basic feature, and it is possible that whenever you go to any web API, you give your details, it will be stored to your database. So that can be achieved by MuleSoft.
No, I'm asking about the form.
So form, like I'm not very sure on that. Maybe in
See,
the
for
coming
example,
sessions. Yeah.
you open up some application and you want to create
Mhm.
some user, for example, right? Even if you take a Salesforce,
Yeah.
when you create a user, it asks you set of information about the user in the
Right.
small text boxes saying that name, first name, last name, all those things. I'm talking about that kind of thing where it is possible to be developed with the MuleSoft.
So I am not able to understand your question completely. But I'll try to answer. Like, so it does not work like a web application. It just provides you solution to connect. And so if you have a web
Yeah.
application to a database, so it will allow you to connect from that web application to that database. So it will provide that connectivity, but it will not allow you to store a data on Mulesoft.
Okay. On your example in the
Mhm.
screenshots where you have system API, process API, all those things, right?
Yeah.
Eventually, when you access that from your mobile phone or
Mhm.
web server, you need to be showing the data on certain form, right?
Right,
You,
right.
you cannot just like that throw a JSON file onto the screen, right? It
Correct,
needs to
correct.
be
Mhm.
formatted and showing it on to a proper formatted way, right? So
Yeah.
I'm asking about that kind of thing is possible, or do we have to use a different web UI and then internally you call the Mule engine to get the data and then show it? I'm just trying to understand how that works in that
Yeah, that
perspective.
is possible. So it depends on the website, what kind of data it is requiring in which format. So we have different kind of formats supported in Mulesoft, and we can do that.
Okay. So the MuleSoft can be used only for integrating multiple applications, not more than
Exactly.
that.
Exactly. Exactly. That is what is.
Okay.
Okay. So any further questions? We have 2 more minutes.
I think I'm okay. And I will ask more questions tomorrow if I.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, Ram. This will help us more be interactive and learn more. Okay, guys. So I think we are done for the session. If you want to contact or register yourselves for the upcoming sessions, you can just contact unogeeks.com or this phone number which is showed above. Thank you for attending this session. Hope to see you tomorrow.